Greetings and welcome to the Department of Tangents podcast, episode 32, a conversation with the Upper Crust, purveyors of rock and roll, plus a short interview with Australian sketch group Aunty Donna, and a track from the newly released audio version of Ali Wong's special Baby Cobra. I had a bit of a mid-season break these past 2 weeks as I've been moving into a new house, but things are looking up for the Department of Tangents. We'll have a new office and studio in the house, and I'll be bringing you a conversation or two in the near future taped in the podcast kitchen in lovely Lynn, Massachusetts. We'll be back to the regular schedule soon, and today we've got a lot to get to. The big interview is with the Upper Crust, but before we get to that, I saw a fantastic sketch troupe earlier this week at the Wilbur in Boston. They're new to me and new to North America, but not new to thousands of fans who have seen them live in their native Australia or the UK, or those who have subscribed to their YouTube channel. And I'm assuming there are a good number of people over here who have seen them, judging by the fans in Boston who sang along with their closing number and the long line of people who stuck around to get autographs and hugs after the show. Over about an hour and a half, the three stage players, Mark, Broden, and Zach, did sketch, dance, they sang. It was impressive. They did a violent, short, silent movie thing to a Katy Perry song, and they did this incredibly involved Ellen DeGeneres parody. They did some audience participation. I loved it. It's invigorating to see something like that when you have no idea what's coming. They're on their first tour of North America right now and hoping to make that a regular thing, so look for them in a theater near you. I sat down with all six of them, including directors Sam and Max and composer Tom, after the show. Hopefully you'll be hearing more from them on the Department of Tangents in the future, and here's a little bit of what they're all about.
Thanks for waiting so long.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thanks for doing it.
Thanks for doing it. You must be exhausted after. So the show was about an hour and a half, and then it's been
another hour 10, yeah.
Another hour or so that you've been with people in line waiting to speak with you and give you souvenirs and hugs and take pictures.
Yeah, it's an awful life. It's a real burden.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's that like positivity, you know. Most people, when you're a performer, that's what you know. You tend to know that just almost that one way sort of on stage thing. So to do the meet and greets are really cool because you actually get to know you get to hear what the show was to them, and it gets you out of your head, which is really cool. It's really nice. Yeah.
If you could say your names before you talk, just because there are going to be a lot of people.
Yeah, have you met the other three?
No, I haven't.
I'm Sam.
Nick.
Max.
Nice to meet you.
Tom. How are you, mate?
So this is Sam talking. Tom does music. Sam directs the stage shows and writes as well. And Max is the filmmaker, so editor, director.
Mm-hmm. It's a very energetic show. A lot of people mention that in line. I just heard, but it's also a very self-aware show, and you don't get those two things frequently together. Is that by design? Is that something that's part of
speaking? The latter has been something that's come from us doing the show, doing live shows together for quite a while now. In our first few years, we were very heavily rehearsed, very tight, and if something unplanned happened, then we would probably scramble and struggle to deal with it. But then from years of touring, and particularly going to Edinburgh Fringe every year, having those moments of real liveness and self-aware, the ability to reflect and talk about the show as it happens is something we've gotten better at doing. And yeah, I'd say it's something we've come to.
Right, like introducing a sketch saying this is now a parody of.
Yeah.
And then going into it.
And also just the ability to say this isn't going the way we planned it, or that was a bad idea to do that tonight. Those kind of things.
Yeah, it's this is Mark. You kind of just learn to stop caring, and just that, like at certain points you just learn it's like if you let your guard completely down and let the audience see a person who's fucked up or a person who's just made a big mistake, they quite like that, and we were terrified of that when we started. But you just learn to let go a bit and discover that it's quite fun too.
I think there's also Sam here. Sorry, there's also something like it's kind of hard when you're being a comedy show that's big and loud and you're dancing and you're doing songs and stuff to kind of go, yeah, we're in front of you and we're dancing and this is funny. You know, like we're in front of you and we're doing this, and it's all a bit stupid, isn't it? The fact that we are in here with this room with you right now, and we're putting up a fourth wall and pretending to be people and putting on a play and stuff. So I think I don't know, for us, we can't sort of move past that in a way, kind of going, we are here, and you know that's where the irony comes from a bit, I think.
Yeah, and Zach here. Hello. I think there's a big thing with sketch. You know, there's an immediacy to stand up. There's that sort of direct. This is a person on stage talking to people in an audience, and with stand up, it's often as scripted as sketch. But there's that immediacy and there's that feeling of tonight is the night that you're watching this conversation.
Right.
And it's just really fun to have found that, or I think that's been our journey for the last few years, is to find that immediacy, that conversational tone within sketch, or within sort of 3 people on stage, rather than sketch, 3 people on stage doing little plays, you know. So it's good to do that.
There's a nice variety of material in there. You've got, you know, parodies, you've got songs, and there was also, not to give away too much, there's like a 3-minute Coen Brothers silent film. Was it a Katy Perry song?
Yes,
In the middle of it, about a deer hunter. As if I've got it. Do I have this completely scrambled, or
No, you nailed it. You got deer right, which is, I think you might be one of the first.
Well, what do people think it is?
Sometimes people think it's a rabbit, but it's a big rabbit. I don't know. I haven't heard deer a lot, so you nailed that. I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
Do all of you have different sort of senses of humor that one of you might write a Family Feud parody, one might write a deer sketch, and one might write a song parody?
Zach here. Like we all do have very different senses of humour, and 6 years ago we had very different senses of humour. And I think one thing that sort of defines us as opposed to other groups is we came together because of a mutual respect for each other, not because of a common taste. And that's how we found our voice, was almost mushing together all these different styles. But within that probably happens within scenes and within moments where everything is written by everyone. But then we just try and find the variety and find the difference within that.
Broden speaking. Because we're in Australia, which is a much smaller population, our influences are a bit of an amalgamation of different larger countries and their comedic senses. So we have a lot of British humour in our stuff, but also a lot of American comedy and a lot of Kiwi stuff as well. Like we don't have a real lineage of like Second City being how we came together, but a little bit of that is there, and then also Python, and then Flight of the Conchords, and so we like to think we're a mix of lots of different, and obviously a lot of Australian influences as well.
Right. Well, the internet helps that, and that's helped tonight. There are people singing along at the end.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
It's good. It gives you a head start a bit, doesn't it? Like when people know who you are and they've found you. It's a new frontier, but it's really awesome to be able to put stuff online and then say we're coming to Boston and have people like it. It's really cool. All we did was put videos up and then promote them, and it's really cool.
And you're at the very beginning of your first North American tour. What do you expect for the rest of this tour?
Oh man.
It's been something we've wanted to do for a really long time. Broden speaking. It's in Australia there seems to be this real idea that you go to the UK and you win over the UK, and that's what you do as an Australian comedian. But what we're looking at our YouTube channel, where and which was getting us audiences in the UK and Australia, and our biggest audience was America, but there was no real avenues for us to break over here for years and years, and we really wanted to do it, and eventually we found the right people, and it's been something we've been wanting to do for years and years and years, and so it's a bit of a celebration of finally getting over here and meeting people who we've wanted to see for years and years, who've been supporting us.
Yeah, this is Mark. I'm sort of expecting like kind of what has been happening over the last couple of days, which has been pretty incredible, which is like people coming up to us and being like, I've been watching you for like 4 years. I've been watching you for 3 years or whatever. And it's their chance to meet us and to see us live. And we've been working, pretty hard for like 6 years to make the live shows something very different, because they came first. They came before the YouTube stuff. And we've always, and we've all got a theatre background, so we've always liked to think that the theatre shows give the fans something quite different. And for a lot of people, especially in New York, it was their first ever comedy show. It was their first ever time going out and seeing theatre. And to meet those people and to get to have those experiences with people who live literally on the other side of the world, who we've never met before, is crazy. And I can't believe we're getting to see so much of America while we're doing that.
Just study them and call them chowder heads and
Yeah.
reference Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
I didn't have to, Zach here, I didn't have to study Boston Rob. We're big Boston Rob fans. We love Boston Rob.
All right, thank you very much. I don't want to keep you
pleasure.
longer
Thank
for...
you.
No, not at all.
Thank you, Wade, for waiting around so long.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And thank you for being from the globe.
That's real cool.
It really is. Is Michael Keaton still there? Or is he there?
We're all big spotlight.
He just
fans.
hangs around the office and
Leah
putters.
Schreiber.
Yeah,
He's
they
still
just...
the head editor.
Waiting for his next big role.
Yeah, they don't talk to him much. It's weird. It's awkward. Right, hopefully see you guys next time.
Thank you so much.
An arrow to the head isn't always a trick.
And that's a little taste of what Aunty Donna is all about. You can find their tour dates and videos on auntydonna.com. That's AUNTYDONNA.com. And now for the main interview. I saw the Upper Crust open for Tenacious D years ago in Boston, and I've enjoyed them ever since. They are a Rocque band, spelled R-O-C-Q-U-E, and claim to have gotten together in the 18th century when their footmen introduced them. They are aristocrats and perform in their silken finery, part of their frippery and foppery, as they describe it, on their great new album, Delusions of Grandeur. They are Lord Bendover and Duke of Distortion on guitar and vocals, Count Bassie on bass and vocals, and Jackie Kickassis on drums. The sound is very much in the vein of AC/DC and Mott the Hoople, but you can't count them as influences because the Upper Crust has a couple of centuries on them. And here's the thing about the Upper Crust. Most bands would kill to have either a great shtick or great kick-ass rock and roll songs. You could probably get by with one of the two. This band has both. Their live show is fantastic and campy, but these guys are first-rate musicians, and they can write a rock hook like no one's business. I'll post a couple of videos on the Department of Tangents site so you can see them, or you can Google them and find out for yourself. Even if you've never seen the band in their silken glory, you've never seen them live, you've never seen the shtick, the new album stands on its own. You'd get the idea hearing the lyrics to songs like Little Castrato or Frippery and Foppery or I'll Be Wintering Elsewhere, but you really don't need that shtick to enjoy it. I interviewed Lord Bendover, Count Bassie, and Jackie Kickassis in character before their album release show at Once Ballroom in April. Please enjoy. In my fantasy of how this band came together, when you all met, you were in your silks and wigs and just found some instruments and started to play right there, and the music just came out. How did you actually meet? How did the Upper Crust come to be?
I think it was our messengers who initially met, and then told us that we were similarly disposed. Towards rock and roll.
Yes, we heard it through the footmen and various liveried servants who reported back to us that we were mutually inclined to play rock and roll.
And by the way, you might want to introduce yourself so people can differentiate your voices.
Oh yes, I am the Lord Bendover, perpetually at your service.
I am Count Bassie.
And this is...
I am the almost perpetually silent Jackie Kickassis.
Yes, except behind the drum kit.
Except the drums.
Reputedly nouveau riche.
Nouveau riche. And so how did you hear of each other to send your footmen and your... It was you sent your firsts to address your seconds and...
Well, not quite. I think that they all know each other.
And
Yes,
in their free time.
There's a little world of servants who
We're not
get
allowed.
up to no good.
We're not allowed to enter.
Yeah.
They are off on their own,
Uh-huh.
sometimes unsupervised, much to our displeasure.
Yes, they put their heads together and engineered this meeting of minds, and the rest, of course, is history.
Mhm. Now, did you have your signature sound right away, or did that take time to develop?
I think it blossomed over time.
It blossomed over time, but I don't know that our sound has any signature, really. We're often likened to various bands, but I think we sound like many other bands than the ones we're commonly likened to.
Mhm. Well, the ones that come to mind for me, I was going to ask, are Mott the Hoople and AC/DC, but I'm sure people bring that up all the time. But do you count them as influences? Are there other bands or sounds that have inspired you more?
Well, we predate them by
Almost
several
300
hundred years.
Yes, there's that.
So there's that. So I'll leave it up to you to decide the answer to that question.
So how long have you been together then?
Since about 1735.
Yes, that's a long time. I think you've beat the Stones by about 2 years, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And we look a bit better than they do at this point.
Hmm.
So how has the dynamic changed over the years?
Well, I think if you listen to the music that we made with steam-powered amplifiers and equipment, you'll find that there's a lot of whistling and rumbling that we've been able to tune out in this digital age.
Yes. Now the modern technology has expunged all vestiges of that inferior sound.
It took a while for technology to catch up to the sounds that you had in your head.
Yes,
Mm.
very much so.
What keeps you going after being together for so long?
Inertia.
Yes.
We don't know how or when to stop.
Uh,
And it doesn't help that people continually applaud us everywhere we go
Yes.
and say, huzzah, more, bravo,
are you
things to that
trying?
effect.
Oh, go ahead. You were about to.
No. I'm merely listening.
Are you trying to stop then, or and did the people just keep? The people won't let you?
Well, we don't try much to do anything.
Yes. It's not actually in our nature to exert ourselves overly, but it seems that we must satisfy the audience.
It's a strange thing about being at the very pinnacle of society, is that one is often beholden to one's inferiors in a strange way, and also one is lackadaisical and without the energy to make up one's mind for oneself, I think.
Yes. Is
That's
that
not true.
Is that what they call noblesse oblige?
Well, that's a different thing, yes. That's more commonly, yes, that would be something like the white man's burden.
Correct. Right.
It's not a term that's often applied to rock and roll so much.
No.
Which one?
I'm forgetting. My French is terrible. The
Noblesse oblige.
Noblesse oblige. Yes. Whenever I try to say something like that, my face just looks wrong. So.
Yes, I don't speak very good French either.
So
We
you
have people who do that for us.
Yes.
so you feel obliged to entertain the plebes.
Well, there's that.
Yes, to some degree. They are rather quaint, you know.
We just get in the habit of doing whatever it is someone bows and scrapes and tells us it's time to do. And we go, yes, of course. We shall go on once again, once more into the breaches.
For what else would we be doing otherwise?
I was going to ask, what do you do when you're not playing music? What is the life of a member of Upper Crust?
Well, some of us like to play with our ancient navigation equipment. Others have a penchant for vintage firearms.
Fisticuffs, the Duke
Fisticuffs.
Distortion.
Yes.
I myself am a devotee of debauchery and decadence.
And And that takes up a lot of time, I would.
It does.
Oh,
It
yes.
takes an amazing amount of time. It's really quite strenuous and difficult.
Right. However much time you slot for it originally, it always takes more.
It always takes more. Yes.
You wake up in the morning and it's
just going
your day
on
is
and
full
on. Yes.
before you know.
Mhm.
You know.
And it's just purely an accident that one has woken up in the morning at all, because one is generally awake at night.
And you've typically often stayed through the night into the morning.
Mhm. Well, how do you find time to work in those schedules?
Well, we don't work. We make a point of never exerting ourselves or breaking a sweat.
Mhm.
But when you say work, I imagine you're referring to making music.
Making music, yes, recording and playing.
That just comes out of us.
Yes, if we socialize, we are able to engineer certain musical events.
Mhm.
But we are very, very, very lazy, really. And the fact is, it took us a long time to put out this new record.
Mhm.
Perhaps
Far longer than it should have,
far longer than it should have.
because we are in fact lazy to some degree.
Indisposed to exert
Indisposed.
ourselves.
Yes.
Well, you put out a split live album last year with the Grannies as well as that.
Oh, there's that.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the live had been done several years prior.
Mhm.
Ah, yes, true.
That was merely
Our
the
contribution.
effort. I made some
was
effort
minimal.
in it. I took the thing that had the music on it from a shelf and gave it to a man in a recording studio, and that was, I think, the limit of our exertion.
Mhm.
It was reverse engineered.
Mm.
We took the music that was already recorded and put it back into a recording studio in order to make it appear that it was brand new.
Correct.
Well, a recording studio must be a marvelous place for you, having started before there was
Indeed.
such a thing as a
Yes.
recording studio.
Yes.
Revelatory, one might say.
Yes.
Well, when was the first time you were in a recording studio?
Well, I think there were, somewhere in the late 1800s, there was some sort of wire, something. That's all.
Well, we
Misty
did a
to me
lot of
now.
work on wax cylinder that was,
There was
then
wax
lost
cylinder.
on a hot summer day. It all melted.
So that's only the collectors might have one or two left, or is that how?
Perhaps there's one out there somewhere that
Yes.
will surface.
Some bearded gnome somewhere clutching
Rip
vinyl
Van Winkle
LPs.
figure.
Certainly, probably has that.
Bearded gnomes are often
No
selling
offense.
records at.
No offense.
No problem. I'm only like 5% gnome. There's not much in it. And then there are a lot of bearded gnomes at record
This is what
record stores.
This is what I say.
So watch out for the unlabeled wax cylinders if you happen to have a
Absolutely.
player. You have an adapter for your iPod. You might
Yes.
get some vintage Upper Crust stuff.
It's entirely possible.
Yes. Well, how important is a sense of humor in your music?
Well, we try to stamp out any vestiges of humor that occur in our music, and if some have slipped through, it's purely by accident.
Mhm.
I think that our self-importance outweighs anything like humor.
Mhm.
Yes.
So if you see people laughing in the crowd tonight at your CD release show, it will displease you?
Yes, we'll be displeased and we'll immediately stop playing.
Yes, as we frequently have.
Yes, storm off the stage.
There's a visual element to the band as well as the music, but the music, you wouldn't have been around this long if it were just the visual element. There'd be no need to make albums, really. It would just be recording if the music wasn't good.
Portraiture, yes.
Yes, musical portraiture before.
Perhaps we could arrange that where we would have our portraits painted and then they could play a recording of our music.
Ah, I like the idea. It seems so much easier than what we do these days.
Yes, you could light a well-lit portrait of each person in the band and have the music playing, and we wouldn't need to be there at all.
That would be like early touring, would just send the portraits on tour and have somebody read a predetermined script to give them an idea of what you sounded like when you were actually playing the music while the portrait was being painted.
Precisely.
Yes.
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 Exactly.
Sounds like something that should be in a museum.
Yeah. So there are some wonderful arrangements on the new one. I like Little Castrato especially, and then the vocal arrangement and the intro and that sort of half tempo section. The heads will roll and the build up on Frippery and Foppery. I mean, do people notice that stuff? Or are they having too much fun listening to the music to notice there's a solid arrangement and solid music there?
Well, we've had a very good reaction so far to the record. People seem to enjoy it, and they cite various songs as their favorites, which is good. We like that.
We like to think that
Live, I think everybody's too inebriated to notice anything when we perform. I think,
fortunately for us,
yes, they're too busy indulging in pure animal exaltation to notice the subtleties and the finesse which we employ in the making of our music.
on a sober day, one likes to imagine that there is some ability for aesthetic appreciation in the audience, you know.
Well, does it bother you if people notice just the sort of visual aspect and the humor of it, and they don't notice the solid arrangement, the music that's behind it?
Doesn't really bother me. No.
I don't think we're bothered at all.
So long as they don't throw anything too large or heavy or hard. I mean, if it's large and heavy and soft, that's fine. But yes, well, that's pretty much the parameters by which we judge our audiences.
So tennis balls, fruit, balloons, these things are fine.
That's fine.
Someone's wife is okay.
If she's soft, yes.
Yes. Now you mentioned rock and roll. Is that the way you would pronounce it instead of rock and roll?
Rocque and roll.
Yes. How would you define that?
Well, it's similar to rock and roll, only it has a Baroque inflection to it. And if it ain't Baroque, don't fix it.
Indeed.
Yeah. And how did you come about that particular sound for the band?
Just naturally
Evolved.
Yes.
Naturally evolved.
Yes, I did.
Music is an expression of the individuals making it.
Not that we're not, altogether, what's the word I'm looking for? Calculated and artificial. We'd like to think that we are very much
Most certainly. Yes,
creatures of artifice. But sometimes naturally things just slip out and they come out good.
Well, many people would consider artifice sort of an insult to say that you're fake and you have artifice in your music. You don't.
In our world, no. In our world, that's a compliment.
Yes, the root of artifice is art, of course. You know.
Yes. Well, it was. I listened to the album on the way here with the windows down, and I'll say that it's impossible not to make gnarly rock faces while you're listening.
Excellent.
To this album.
This is the response we hope to engender.
Yes, with gnarly rock faces. That's what you're hoping to see tonight at the show, gnarly rock faces.
I should like to see some gnarly rock faces, yes.
Do you have particular instructions or rules for gnarly rock faces? How people should make the proper gnarly rock face?
Well, we don't get into people's business to that degree as to dictate what facial expressions they should assume, but we do prefer if they employ the pinky salute rather than the traditional rock two-fingered devil horn salute. Count Bassie invented, of course, the pinky salute.
It came in a certain blinding flash of inspiration
whilst he
one
was
evening.
drinking tea and playing rock and roll at the same time.
And I thought, what a perfect gesture to express Rocque and roll.
And did you consider the devil horns traditional sign more
vulgar?
More vulgar. Also more difficult because you must
raise
the extra finger.
One finger, an additional finger, which is twice as big and heavy as the pinky.
To lift.
Right, and that could knock you out
Yes.
for like a week.
Yes.
Certainly it causes some fatigue, yes.
Yes, it wouldn't leave the finger strong enough for debauchery.
No, I asked you to...
Later on.
If
Fingers
you
are essential to debauchery.
Absolutely.
proper debauchery.
Yes, and is that part of the philosophy, trying to save energy for debauchery?
Yes.
It's
By all means,
important.
You're catching on, sir.
Yes. So why is the album called Delusions of Grandeur?
Well, that was come up with by the Duc de Saint-Jean,
He was not here.
who was not here.
Yes.
And we couldn't decide on another name, so when he came up with that one, we said, huzzah, all very good, we shall take it, because we were running out of time.
Yes, I think the materials had gone to what they called the pressing plant.
Mm-hmm.
So it was imperative that we decided on a title. Delusions of Grandeur seemed to be...
So the Duc
The
de
best.
Saint-Jean, yes, he's a man of few words, like Jackie Kickassis. And when he came out with that, we were perfectly satisfied with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's also part of one of his lyrics.
And I do want to get Jackie in here. What is it like to drive a rock and roll band like this in the drummer's throne?
It is very hard work, and I really wish I didn't have to do it. But I get free beer and occasionally meet fun people. So I continue doing it. And sometimes I actually throw in what they call a drum fill, which can be rather exciting for me.
It's extra work, though.
Well, it is, and it's... Yes, I'm ruined for days.
There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
Jackie Kickassis has to exert himself far more than the rest of us.
It is an unfortunate truth.
But he comes from different stock than us.
This is true.
Raised by wolves.
Was I? Yes, I keep forgetting. I was raised by wolves, wasn't I? I blocked that out.
Literal wolves, or is that a nickname for something?
I believe they were actual...
Like
yes.
Todd and Tammy wolves.
Yes, absolutely. Todd and Tammy Wolf.
Yeah.
I think it was Saul and Marion Wolf, actually, wasn't it? Of Austria, something like that.
Yes. The wolves of Austria, yes.
That's a very majestic name, the Wolves of Austria. But does this cause friction between the band? That are you not part of the aristocracy as well?
Well, yes, I don't have a title, but...
He's a natural aristocrat, and our theory is that he was abandoned by people of extremely high birth on this deserted island where he was raised by wolves.
Yeah.
That's our theory. We can't back it up with anything, but we like to think it.
That's
and
where...
occasionally to say it, as I've just done.
And you've mentioned Foppery a couple of times on this album, getting fopped up and Frippery and Foppery. How would you define that term to people who might be unfamiliar with Foppery?
Foppery is merely dressing in a certain manner. Your countenance is in a certain fashion. What do you say?
I would say that foppery just means looking your best at
Yes.
all times.
Yes.
In the most elaborate possible way.
Yes.
And Frippery, is that a separate...
Frippery is the details involved in foppery.
Yes.
One's manservants must do an awful lot of frippery to accessorize one's foppery properly.
Exactly.
Foppery properly. Say that 10 times fast.
And do you have many assistants that help with the wigs and the satins you wear
Yes, of course.
We do.
on stage?
We do. We've sent them all away now for this interview, but they'll all come crowding back in again.
Right back into the green room here at the Once Ballroom.
Yes. Yes.
It must be tough to accommodate the band with so many assistants and such an entourage.
Right. Well, our management sends along our rider, and that makes it clear what they're up against
Mhm.
in advance.
But we're able to gain a lot of points at the Marriott hotel chain by virtue of having so many rooms to rent each evening.
Mhm. Is that seen as a step down when you're touring? Obviously, the Marriott's not the finery that you're probably.
Oh, we
used
don't
to.
stay in the
We don't
Marriott.
stay Only our entourage.
How do you survive on tour then? I'm assuming you're about to go on tour. The new album is out.
Yes, we shall go on tour. We survive quite nicely. I prefer. I used to travel in my own personal carriage, but now I prefer my own personal aeroplane
Mhm.
because it gets me there faster with more time to relax.
Mhm. And then you can just stay on the plane at the gig, and you don't have to.
Yes,
To get out and deal with the
exactly.
unwashed masses as much. Do you have?
I highly recommend private aviation if you can at all do it.
Well, there will be flying cars soon, from what I've heard. They've developed one
I've heard of that.
Yes.
recently.
That confuses me.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
How would it work?
Yes.
I'm not sure how the roads would work. I mean, people are bad enough just driving on solid ground, much less flying around in the air.
Yes, well, technology usually works out for the best, so I think it might be okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, Count Bassie is a technophile. Yes,
Mhm.
he believes that all things can be solved with the application of technology.
I also have developed something of a penchant for techno music as well in recent
Oh,
years,
yes.
so I am somewhat of a technophile in that regard also.
Oh, what do you like about that music?
I like its relentless monotony.
which would be, it's less work, right?
Exactly. See, you are really something.
Why, thank you.
Absolutely.
You understand us better
Yes,
than perhaps any other
anyone
journalist
has ever understood
spoken
us.
with.
Well, if you hear the same thing over and over again, then you only have to process one reaction and then go with that until the song's over.
Yes, to be fair, the events in the music evolve very slowly over time. So frequently I am asleep by the time the next thing comes in.
Mhm. And that's ideal. That's the ideal entertainment experience.
It for me, yes.
Now, would you listen to your own music if you didn't make it? It's a very high energy kind of music.
Interesting question.
That is an interesting question. I should think that the politic answer would be yes, but the true answer would be no.
No, absolutely no. Yes.
No, it's effortless, you say, and then it's mostly for the unwashed masses and not necessarily for the aristocracy, correct?
Yes, I think that's largely true.
Then again,
We have seen some of the well-heeled on occasion bobbing their heads.
there is.
But not too rigorously.
Yeah, they jostle their jewelry and so forth.
But, it's rare, I think, that one will listen to one's own music shortly after recording it. I mean, one records it, one listens to it, and then one puts it away for a little while and let other people listen to it, and they will give you their opinions, which are invariably positive.
And unsolicited.
Yes.
What do your fellow members of the aristocracy think about the music?
They seem to love it, as does everybody else. Do they not?
Yes, there has been a wonderful response to this latest recording.
Even among the aristocracy? Even though
Yes.
it's not,
Yes.
not
Oh,
for
yes.
them?
Yes. Yes, the ladies of Newport are quite enamored with it.
Yes, well, we all know the ladies of Newport.
Indeed.
They go for this kind of stuff.
Of course.
They're rockers and rollers.
Yes, you must have seen so much being together since 1835, was it? 1735.
Yes.
Yeah. What are your favorite
Memories?
memories and highlights of that time and being together?
Oh my God. Well, most of that time those nearly 3 centuries has been spent at leisure. And so it all seems to me like one long summer day by the shores of some northern Italian lake. Lake Como, usually.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to remember actual historical events.
Well, because we weren't involved in it.
We weren't involved.
We only heard about them in most cases. One day there might have been a short supply of wheat or something. Might indicate problems, but other than that, we don't remember much.
No. Wars, famines, things like that.
Voltaire came over once, and we drank with him.
That was nice.
What did he have to say about the music?
I don't think he liked it, and then he passed out.
And then he passed on, of course.
And then he passed
as
on.
did everybody.
The Civil War was no fun for
No.
while here.
For you personally, you mean? Or
No,
for-
we were not involved in the least, but
well, you'd have been around.
I'd
for
heard, you know,
Yes,
about it.
we've been around for quite some
Seemed
time
like-
already by then. We were already old and tired by
Yes, you would have seen the American Revolution.
then.
Yes,
Did you-
we heard about that as well.
What were your thoughts on that?
Initially, we disapproved,
Disapproved.
but now that we are here, we can see that in the end,
It was all a far worse mistake
yes,
than
far
could
worse
have
mistake
been
than it could
imagined
have
at
been.
the time.
Yes.
Seeing where things are now.
Yes, I think it was an inevitable historical decline that we might have predicted then,
Yes. Had we had the energy to lift a finger,
or engage in that type of
we should have
historical
interceded.
analysis.
Yes.
Is it time, as some have suggested, to end the experiment and just go back to England?
Go back to
Well,
Go back under
aristocracy.
English rule.
Yes,
Yes,
well, yes, we've
monarchy,
advocated for
aristocracy.
monarchy for quite some time.
Mm.
There are virtues to it, of course.
Mm.
I think either way you will end up in some sort of system, feudal-like, eventually anyway. So
Mhm.
embrace it now.
Are,
Why put yourselves through the agony, I say.
are any of you in line to the throne?
That sounds like too much work right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's far too public,
Mhm.
Yes.
As opposed to rock and roll.
which is public but not with a certain public.
Mhm.
One
Right.
steps on stage, one performs, one steps off stage, and one is immediately back into one's life of decadence, debauchery, and leisure.
Do you enjoy playing on stage?
No,
I've never thought about it, really.
I would say, if pressed, I would say, yes, I actually do enjoy performing on stage. I've gotten used to it by now,
Mhm.
and I quite like it.
Well, I think I might agree.
Mm.
I'll let you know later.
Mhm. Is there some overlap with debauchery? Can you do that on stage?
We tried that.
We tried that one time in New Orleans, of all places,
Mhm.
and it did not work so well.
Well, one can either indulge in debauchery, or one can play a set of finely tuned rock and roll at a brisk clip
Mhm.
and get the job done, as it were.
Mhm. And sort of like the
If it's-
Stones in Exile on Main Street. They recorded that in
Who?
France. The Rolling Stones.
Oh,
Mm.
They're a newer group. They're not.
I know. Yes, I know them.
Yes.
I know
Of them.
of them. Well, I know the singer from Moustique, where I occasionally go in the winter.
Well, they went to France to record their album Exile on Main Street to avoid taxes, ostensibly.
They did.
In there, which I would.
Wise.
Yes, I would assume you would approve.
We approved of the decadence and debauchery in which they indulged as well
Mhm.
at the time, which much has been made of, and but they are really runners up to us in that department.
Mhm. But could anybody catch you in that department? Do you think?
I don't think so.
Might be
They have
difficult given
long
the long
experience,
experience.
yes.
Yes.
Mhm. And yet you've managed to keep most of this sort of quiet. You don't hear the legends like you would about, say, Led Zeppelin and Mud Shark.
No, that's somewhat coarse.
No.
We try to keep...
Smacks of populism.
Yes.
So it's a refined debauchery then.
It is.
What would refined debauchery be?
Well, ether, laudanum, aquavit, occasional misadventures and dalliances.
And remaining, for the most part, in one's chambers,
And
out of the public.
anything you could do with the one pinky up and the stiff upper lip
Would be...
refined debauchery.
You might say, yes. I will agree with that.
Though in one's own quarters, one might occasionally relax the stiffness of one's lip to get around whatever one is attempting to debauch.
Right. Some debauchery is bigger than others
Yes,
and would require more flexibility.
exactly.
Yeah. So how do you want people to feel when they hear your music?
You should like them to feel stimulated and excited. Yes.
Yes, I think that's a good assessment. Stimulated, excited,
Intoxicated.
I was going to say drunk, but intoxicated is better.
Perhaps as the evening goes on, inebriated.
Inebriated.
Yes. But not at all motivated.
Never motivated, no. No, we're not trying to motivate anybody.
No. Unless it's to tend to our gardens or something of that nature.
Right. Oh, do you play this for your servants around the mansion or the estate?
We can't keep them away.
They're just there wherever you look.
It is, after all, rather loud.
Right. Do you pay them in the music then? Is that how, or are they not
Pay them?
in music? Then?
Oh, no. We don't
Someone
involve
else
ourselves with that
arranges
type of thing.
the household. The household staff is administered by our man Bumbles.
Bumbles, right? Who also administers the website.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's far beyond our ability.
manservant.
So, are you going to tour with this album? I'd heard that you might be going out with the Super Suckers.
That seems to be happening
Yes.
at the end of July.
In July,
Is
yes.
that correct?
Yes, we shall.
We shall do some dates on the East Coast.
Yes, with Mr. Edward Spaghetti.
Oh yes. with the full Super Suckers, or just with him solo?
I think
That's
it's
the
the
full
full Super Suckers.
Full-on Super Suckers.
And what else do you have coming up that I should let people know about? You got the new album and the tour.
Well, there's 4 dates in the Pacific Northwest
In May.
in end of May. San Francisco, Eugene.
No.
No, not Eugene. Medford.
Medford,
Oregon.
Oregon. Don't you find it confusing that there are cities that have the same name in different parts of the United States?
Yes, that is confusing.
Portland.
Yeah, Portland.
There's a Portland here.
Oregon and Maine.
Medford. There's a Medford very near us.
I think that was
now.
done when it took so long to get between these places that it was never redundant. But
Right,
Yeah.
and people moved from the other Medford to the new Medford and wanted something that reminded them of the old Medford.
that must have been it.
Yes.
Too. Yes.
They probably called it New Medford at first and then dropped that.
Yes, that could be. But now it's very confusing.
Yes, and you have to keep in mind you don't want to walk out and say hello Cleveland and then you're not in Cleveland.
Well,
No.
if you say hello Portland, excuse me. If you say hello Portland, do they get offended if you don't say hello Portland, Oregon, or hello Portland, Maine?
But well, probably not, because only you would know that you meant Portland, Maine, but you're actually in Portland, Oregon.
Right.
Right. I did see Ringo Starr once in Buffalo come out and say hello Boston, and much of the crowd was fairly displeased. Yes,
Nah.
they used a few obscenities,
Really?
Wow.
yelling back at him.
Wow.
I think he was forgiven
Poor
fairly quickly.
Ringo.
I think that I would find that charming.
Perhaps it was satire.
Quite possibly, yes. He was the funny one, or is the funny one. So- right, and where can people find more about the band? What's the best way to find out, to keep updated?
There is a Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
the Upper Crust Facebook. There is a website which is theuppercrust.org. And I think that's it. But that's enough.
Yes. Yes, for anybody who wants to find out more on the web, that should be plenty.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
An arrow to the head isn't always a trick. Thanks again to the Upper Crust for sitting down with me before their show. The new album is Delusions of Grandeur, and you should definitely seek that out if you like great rock and roll with a sense of humor. Catch them on tour with the Super Suckers this summer and find out more about them on theuppercrust.org. Thank you also to Aunty Donna for sitting down with me after their show. And a little comedy to finish us up. Ali Wong really blew up after her Netflix special Baby Cobra last year, but the audio of that special wasn't released until May of this year. She's currently in the cast of American Housewife on ABC, which just got renewed for a season 2, and is writing a book of essays for Random House to be released in 2018. This is one of the signature bits from Baby Cobra about why Wong makes sandwiches every morning for her husband to take to work. The track is called Leaning In. If you enjoyed this podcast and you're new to it, you can subscribe and review it on iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher, or just follow it on departmentoftangents.com. And now, here's Ali Wong.
People are always very surprised at how off stage with my husband, I'm a completely different person. You would not recognize my personality at all with him. With him, I'm very soft and very nurturing and very domestic. We've been together now for 5 years. And for 5 years, I've packed his lunch every single day. Yeah. Yes. 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 I did that so that he'd become dependent on me. Because he graduated from Harvard Business School, and I don't want to work anymore. I straight up don't want to work anymore. I don't feed him out of the goodness of my heart. I do it as an investment in my financial future. Because I don't want to work anymore. I've been reading that book by Sheryl Sandberg. She's the COO of Facebook. And she wrote that book that got women all riled up about our careers, talking about how we as women should challenge ourselves to sit at the table and rise to the top. And her book is called Lean In. Well, I don't want to lean in, okay? I want to lie down. I want you to lie the fuck down. I think feminism is the worst thing that ever happened to women. Our job used to be no job. We had it so good. We could have done the smart thing, which would have been to continue playing dumb for the next century and be like, we're dumb women. We don't know how to do anything. So I guess we better just stay at home all day and eat snacks and watch Ellen. Because we're too stupid to have any real responsibility. And then all these women had to show off and be like, we could do it. We could do anything. Bitch, shut up. Don't tell them the secret. They ruined it for us. And now we're expected to work. When I hear the phrase double income household, I want to throw up. A lot of women get very upset with me about those comments. And they're like, but Ali, we have so many more options now. Oh, you don't think we had a lot of options when our day was free? Unscheduled, unsupervised, and most importantly, sponsored. You know how much shittier food tastes when you know you had to earn it?
Neil Young.